The silence of the lunar far side is a weight that no human has felt in over half a century. It is a profound, absolute stillness where the radio signals of Earth are blocked by millions of tons of ancient volcanic rock. In this void, 4 souls sit within a pressurized shell, suspended in a darkness that is as beautiful as it is terrifying. They are the furthest humans from home in history. This isn't just a flight, it is a reckoning. This journey belongs to the crew of Artemis II, the pioneers chosen to break the long silence that followed the end of the Apollo era. Commander Reed Wiseman, pilot Victor Glover, and mission specialists Christina Koch and Jeremy Hansen are the living embodiment of a new chapter in the human story. Their mission is a high-stakes test of resolve, technology, and the primal urge to see what lies beyond the horizon. The story began on the coast of Florida at the historic Kennedy Space Center. There, the Space Launch System, or SLS, stood as a monument to ambition. It is the most powerful rocket ever built, designed to push the Orion spacecraft out of Earth's gravity and toward a trajectory that loops around the moon. Unlike the missions of the past, this isn't a race for dominance. It is a global effort, a collaboration between NASA, the European Space Agency, the Canadian Space Agency, and the Japan Aerospace Exploration Agency. The goal is to prove that humans can once again operate beyond low Earth orbit. For decades, our species has hugged the atmosphere, living on the International Space Station just a few hundred miles up. Artemis II changes that. It pushes boundaries to hundreds of thousands of miles, entering the true deep of space where Earth's magnetic field fades and cosmic radiation becomes a constant companion. The mission timeline is precise. Orion will carry these 4 explorers on a 10-day journey, swinging them around the back of the moon before slinging them back toward home. They are testing the lifeblood of the ship, the life support, navigation, and capsule integrity. If they succeed, they pave the way for a permanent presence on the lunar surface and a path to Mars. But the stakes are higher than in the 1960s. While we have better computers, the environment remains just as hostile. The vacuum is cold, and the margin for error is thin. We often think of this as a sequel to Apollo, but that is a misconception. The technology is entirely new, and the complexities of modern deep space travel carry risks that the astronauts of the 60s could barely imagine. They are venturing into a domain where help is days away. As the crew looks out at the receding blue marble of Earth, they represent every person who has ever looked at the stars and wondered. They carry our fears and our hopes into the dark. Before we continue into the mechanics of this journey and the secrets of the lunar silence, subscribe to the channel and tell us in the comments where you are watching from. Knowing who is following this journey across the globe is part of the shared human experience. The psychological weight is staggering. When Christina Koch looks at the cratered landscape, she isn't just seeing a dead moon, she is seeing the stepping stone to our future. Victor Glover and Jeremy Hansen monitor systems that must perform flawlessly, knowing that one failed seal or software glitch could turn this historic voyage into a tragedy. Reed Wiseman leads a team that knows they are the first of many, but also knows that being first means facing the unknown dangers head on. The mission is a bridge between our past and an uncertain future. While the world watches, the crew prepares for the moment they pass behind the lunar limb, entering isolation. It is a test of Orion's capabilities and human endurance. The silence is coming. And with it, the realization that we are no longer just visiting, we are learning to survive the void. To understand why Artemis II feels so momentous, we must look back at the 50-year silence that preceded it. After Eugene Cernan left the final footprints on the lunar surface in December 1972, humanity retreated to the familiar embrace of low Earth orbit. The reasons for this retreat were complex, rooted in changing political priorities and the staggering costs of deep space exploration. For decades, the Space Shuttle and the International Space Station became the focal points of human activity. We learned how the human body adapts to weightlessness and conducted intricate research just a few hundred miles above our heads. This was an era of refinement. We became masters of the backyard, but the deep woods beyond the fence remained untouched. The moon became a ghost in the sky, a silent destination reached by our grandfathers, but seemingly out of reach for their children. This period was not a lack of ambition, but a necessary gathering of knowledge. We were learning the fundamental rules of the orbital house before stepping out into the wild once again. This long pause allowed us to develop the life support systems and radiation shielding that the Artemis crew now relies upon to survive the journey. The technological leap today is profound. Apollo astronauts flew a sophisticated mechanical calculator, The Saturn V was brute force and analog precision. Today, the Space Launch System represents a radical departure. While it still relies on chemical propulsion, its nervous system is digital. The SLS is the backbone for sustainable deep space infrastructure. It is more powerful than the Saturn V, yet its controls are compact and far more capable. Where Apollo was a sprint, Artemis is a marathon. The goal has shifted from flags and footprints to establishing a permanent presence. We are no longer going to the moon to say we were there. We are going to stay. This means building the lunar gateway and developing technologies to harvest lunar ice. This evolution requires engineering that prioritizes longevity over simple arrival. This shift is reflected in the geopolitics of the mission. The 1960s were a tense two-nation race fueled by Cold War rivalries. In contrast, Artemis II is a testament to global cooperation. NASA leads the effort, but success depends on partners like the European Space Agency, which provides the service module to keep Orion breathing. The Canadian Space Agency contributed Jeremy Hansen and advanced robotics. The Japan Aerospace Exploration Agency is deeply involved in lunar habitation. This is humanity returning to the moon together, representing a unified front that transcends borders. This collaboration adds resilience that the Apollo era lacked. It is a shared investment in a collective future where the risks are distributed. Inside the Orion capsule, the physical reality of this evolution is clear. An Apollo-era astronaut would find the cockpit unrecognizable. Gone are the hundreds of mechanical toggle switches. In their place are high-definition displays and streamlined interfaces. The modern astronaut relies on sensors that detect malfunctions, with software assisting in complex calculations. Yet despite advanced screens, the fundamental sensation of spaceflight remains unchanged. The vibration of the engines and the crushing force of gravity are the same today as they were 50 years ago. The crew sits in a craft built with 21st century precision, yet they face the same ancient unforgiving vacuum. The ship is smarter, but the space outside is just as cold. This transition from macro history to the micro experience of sitting in that seat highlights the mission's true nature. It is a fusion of modern data and primal human courage. As the crew looks ahead, they see through the lens of half a century of waiting. Every action they take is a testament to the persistence of our species. They are the bridge between two worlds, carrying the hopes of billions into the great unknown that lies just over the lunar horizon. The silence is no longer a barrier, but a gateway to a new era of discovery. We are finally ready to step back into the dark. The power generated by the Space Launch System is a feat of modern physics that defies easy comparison. To lift the Orion spacecraft and its crew into the heavens, the SLS produces a staggering 8.8 million pounds of maximum thrust. This makes it the most powerful rocket ever successfully launched into orbit, surpassing the legendary Saturn V. This immense force is generated by twin solid rocket boosters and 4 RS-25 engines, which together consume hundreds of thousands of gallons of propellant in just minutes. This raw energy is necessary to overcome Earth's gravitational pull and propel the crew toward the lunar far side. However, the true brilliance of the SLS lies in its precision. Every burn is calculated to place the crew on a specific trajectory, ensuring they have the velocity required to loop around the moon and return home safely without needing a massive engine burn for the return trip. The architecture of the rocket itself represents a massive technological breakthrough, utilizing composite materials and advanced manufacturing techniques that were simply not available during the Apollo era. Once the initial violent ascent is over, the focus shifts to the small, pressurized environment of the Orion capsule. This spacecraft is a testament to the collaborative engineering of NASA and the European Space Agency. While the crew sits in the command module, the European service module acts as the lifeblood of the mission. It provides the air, water, and power needed to keep 4 human beings alive in the vacuum for 10 days. Managing the life support systems for 4 astronauts, Reed Wiseman, Victor Glover, Christina Koch, and Jeremy Hansen, is a delicate balancing act. The systems must constantly scrub carbon dioxide and replenish oxygen, all while maintaining a stable temperature against the brutal thermal swings of deep space. Unlike the systems of the past, Orion uses advanced sensors to monitor every breath the astronauts take, ensuring the atmosphere remains perfectly balanced even during high-stress maneuvers. This reliability is the result of years of testing on the International Space Station, where life support tech was refined specifically for the rigors of this deep space journey. The return journey presents an even greater engineering challenge: re-entry. When the Orion capsule eventually hits the Earth's atmosphere, it will be traveling at nearly 25,000 miles per hour. To survive this, the craft is equipped with a heat shield covered in AV coat, a specialized ablative material. As the capsule descends, this material burns away, dissipating the 5,000 degrees of heat generated by atmospheric friction. This material is a refined version of what protected Apollo crews, but it is applied today with microscopic accuracy by robotic systems. This ensures that the structural integrity of the capsule remains intact, protecting the crew inside as they transition from the silence of space to the crushing forces of the atmosphere. The heat shield is composed of a titanium frame and a carbon fiber skin, making it both incredibly strong and surprisingly lightweight for its size, representing the peak of thermal protection technology. Beyond the raw power and thermal protection, the mission includes a series of complex proximity operations. Shortly after launch, the crew uses the Orion's thrusters to maneuver around the spent upper stage of the SLS. This serves as a vital test of the spacecraft's handling and its docking systems. These maneuvers are essential for the future of the Artemis program, as later missions will require Orion to dock with the Lunar Gateway or a lunar lander in deep space. These operations are facilitated by Orion's advanced digital architecture. It is a smart capsule, utilizing sophisticated automation to handle the complex physics of orbital mechanics. This allows the crew to oversee the mission with a level of situational awareness that was impossible in the 1960s. The integration of high-resolution displays and automated flight controls means that the astronauts are no longer just pilots. They are mission commanders, managing a complex symphony of digital and mechanical systems. This technological evolution ensures that humanity's return to the moon is not just a repeat of the past, but a sustainable leap into the future. Every sensor, every redundant system, and every line of code in the Orion spacecraft is a shield against the unforgiving environment of deep space, providing the safety net required for the first humans to venture back into the lunar night. However, even with these breakthroughs, the journey remains a gauntlet of invisible threats. The journey into deep space is an entry into a world of invisible daggers. Beyond the protective embrace of Earth's magnetosphere, the crew faces the silent threat of high-energy radiation. Crossing the Van Allen radiation belts is the first hurdle, where trapped particles create an intense field of ionizing energy. While the Orion spacecraft is designed with specialized shielding, the threat of solar particle events remains a constant variable. These sudden bursts of solar activity can flood the capsule with protons traveling at near light speeds. To survive such an event, the crew must take shelter in the most shielded part of the capsule, using water and supplies as a makeshift barrier against subatomic onslaught. This constant bombardment of cosmic rays is a hazard requiring constant monitoring, as a single solar flare could rewrite the mission's outcome in an instant. As the mission progresses toward the moon, the distance introduces a psychological and technical strain. The communication delay. Every instruction sent from Houston and every status report from the crew takes seconds to traverse the void. This lag grows as they approach the lunar surface, but the true test occurs when Orion slips behind the lunar far side. In this dead zone, the bulk of the moon acts as a massive physical barrier, cutting off all radio contact with Earth. For these critical minutes, Reed Wiseman, Victor Glover, Christina Koch, and Jeremy Hansen are truly alone. There is no mission control to offer advice, no family to offer comfort, and no telemetry to verify their safety. They become the most isolated humans in history, relying entirely on onboard systems and their own intuition to navigate the darkness until they emerge from the lunar shadow. The physical cost of this journey is calculated in every heartbeat. Even over a 10-day mission, the human body reacts to the alien environment. Without the constant pull of Earth's gravity, fluids shift toward the head, and bones begin the slow process of losing density. More concerning is the biological impact of cosmic rays on human DNA. Scientific data suggests that even short-duration exposure to radiation can cause microfractures in genetic structures, requiring the body's repair mechanisms to work overtime. Artemis II mission serves as a living laboratory, with the crew providing vital data on how the heart, eyes, and brain respond to stresses of high-velocity transit. This biological toll is the price of admission for a species born on a planet but destined for the stars. A necessary sacrifice to understand the limits of human endurance. Despite advanced technology, the margin for error remains razor thin. NASA engineers have mapped out countless no-go scenarios where the mission must be modified to save the crew. A failure in European service module's propulsion system halfway to the moon would be catastrophic if not for the free return trajectory. This orbital path is a mathematical safety net, designed so that Moon's own gravity will naturally whip the Orion capsule back toward Earth without a major engine burn. This passive return path is the ultimate insurance policy for the crew's return home. However, this safety net only works if the spacecraft remains structurally sound. If a critical system like the life support scrubbers or the electrical grid fails during the transits, crew must perform complex manual repairs in a confined space thousands of miles away from help. There is no rescue ship and no way to turn back early if certain thresholds are crossed. The final layers of risk culminate in moments where automation reaches its limit. While Orion's computers handle millions of operations per second, they cannot replicate human judgment in an unforeseen crisis. The tension is most palpable at points of failure, where human intervention is the only thing standing between success and tragedy. They are not merely passengers. They are the final redundant system in a multi-billion-dollar architecture. The reality of survival in deep space is a constant negotiation between the cold logic of machines and the resilience of the human spirit, a balance tested every second they are away from home. Success hinges on their ability to remain calm while the environment is trying to end their journey. This is the reality of our next giant leap. As the Orion capsule drifts further away from the safety of the atmosphere, the physical dangers of radiation and isolation begin to merge with a profound psychological shift known as the overview effect. For Reed Wiseman, Victor Glover, Christina Koch, and Jeremy Hansen, the sight of Earth is no longer a sprawling landscape of borders and cities, but a fragile, glowing marble. It is a perspective shift that hasn't been experienced by human eyes in more than 50 years. Seeing the entirety of the planet at once, a pale blue dot, reframes the mission from a technical achievement to a philosophical one. This vista reminds the crew, and the billions watching below, of the planet's vulnerability and the commonality of the human experience. The blue oceans and swirling white clouds represent a home that looks increasingly small against the backdrop of the lunar surface. This journey is also a reflection of a changing world. Unlike the uniform demographics of the Apollo era, the presence of Victor Glover and Christina Koch on this mission signals a more inclusive chapter in exploration. Their inclusion is not merely a symbolic gesture, but a practical evolution of what is often called the inspiration economy. Glover, as the first person of color to leave Earth's orbit, and Koch, as the first woman to do so, carry the weight of representation alongside their technical duties. Their presence bridges the gap between the historic accomplishments of the past and the diverse potential of the future, ensuring that the return to deep space belongs to all of humanity rather than a select few. Yet, this multi-billion-dollar endeavor does not exist without intense scrutiny. Back on Earth, a persistent debate lingers over the allocation of national resources. Critics often question why such vast sums are spent on lunar trajectories, while Earthbound problems like climate change, poverty, and disease remain unsolved. To many, the Artemis program is a costly luxury in a world of immediate crises. However, supporters argue that the technological advancements gained from space travel, innovations in water purification and telemedicine, eventually trickled down to the public. This inspiration economy posits that the curiosity driven by such missions fuels scientific literacy and economic growth that far outweighs the initial investment. The challenge for NASA and its international partners is to prove that the moon is not just a destination for flags, but a laboratory for the long-term survival of the human race. For the crew inside the Orion, these macro arguments often fade into the background, replaced by the intimate and visceral reality of the astronaut experience. Despite their decades of combined training, there is an undeniable undercurrent of fear that comes with being a pioneer in such an unforgiving environment. They are living in a pressurized tube separated from a lethal vacuum by just a few inches of alloy and composite. They document their feelings, not as dry mission logs, but as records of human intuition under extreme pressure. They describe the humming of the life support systems as a reassuring heartbeat, and the silence of the lunar far side as a weight that demands total focus. The pioneer's burden is to feel that fear and proceed anyway, transforming individual anxiety into collective progress. This leads to the fundamental question of human versus robotic exploration. While rovers and satellites are more cost-effective and can withstand harsher conditions without the need for oxygen or food, they lack the immediate intuition and problem-solving capabilities of the human mind. A robot can collect a rock, but it cannot feel the awe of a lunar sunrise or make split-second decisions based on sensory nuance. Human presence in deep space adds a layer of adaptability that software cannot yet replicate. When a system glitches or an unexpected geological formation appears, the crew's ability to improvise is the ultimate failsafe. This necessity of human presence is what makes Artemis II a vital step toward the stars, bridging the gap between cold data and the warmth of human discovery. The successful completion of the Artemis II mission signifies more than just a successful flight. It acts as the vital cornerstone for an entirely new architecture of exploration. By proving that the Orion spacecraft and the Space Launch System can safely transport humans through the treacherous Van Allen belts and around the lunar far side, NASA and its international partners, the ESA, CSA, and JAXA shift their focus from proof of concept to permanent infrastructure. This mission is the mandatory prerequisite for the construction of the Lunar Gateway. Artemis II paves the way for an orbital station serving as a vital communications hub and a science laboratory. The Gateway will represent a shift in the human relationship with the Moon, transforming it from a distant target into a bustling outpost for international cooperation and a harbor for ships traveling even deeper into the solar system. Beyond the immediate lunar horizon lies the ultimate ambition, the Moon to Mars pipeline. The data harvested from the 10-day voyage of Reed Wiseman, Victor Glover, Christina Koch, and Jeremy Hansen will be the most valuable resource for the next generation of explorers. Every heartbeat monitored and every millirad of radiation recorded provides the empirical evidence needed to plan for Artemis III, the mission that will finally return human boots to the lunar surface. But the vision does not stop there. The technologies being refined today in the lunar vicinity are the prototypes for the vessels that will eventually carry humans to the Red Planet. The Moon is our classroom, a proving ground where we learn to survive the harsh realities of deep space before we commit to the multi-year journey to Mars. If we can master the lunar environment, the rest of the solar system begins to move within our reach. The impact of this endeavor is not limited to the vacuum of space. It is already resonating across the surface of the Earth. The necessity of surviving in a resource-scarce environment has spurred technological spin-offs that are reshaping modern existence. The water recycling systems perfected for the Orion capsule are being adapted to provide clean drinking water to communities in the most arid regions of our planet. Similarly, the compact medical diagnostic tools and telemedicine protocols developed to ensure the safety of the crew in the lunar dead zone are being deployed to bring high-level healthcare to remote and underserved populations on Earth. The push to go further into space forces us to become better stewards of the resources we have at home. This inspiration economy proves that the investment in space is an investment in human ingenuity that pays dividends in every sector of our society, from material science to environmental conservation. As the mission draws to a close and the Orion capsule prepares for its high-speed re-entry into Earth's atmosphere, a deeper philosophical truth emerges. This is the moment humanity finally leaves its cradle. For over half a century, we have remained in the relative safety of low Earth orbit, tethered to the familiar comforts of our home planet. Artemis II is the breaking of that tether. It represents a collective decision to stop merely observing the universe and to start inhabiting it. We are transitioning from a world-bound civilization to a multi-planetary one, driven by the same spirit of discovery that led our ancestors across unknown oceans to find new worlds and expanded horizons. When the crew looks out through the thick panes of the Orion at the silent gray plains of the Moon, they are not just looking at a destination. They are looking at the first step of a journey that has no foreseeable end. The Moon is no longer a graveyard of past achievements, but a doorway to a future where human presence in the solar system is a permanent reality. Whether we are looking at the lunar surface as a laboratory or a waypoint, it remains the mirror in which we see our own potential. As we follow the technical milestones of this historic mission, we are watching the birth of a new era. The journey of Artemis II is an invitation to every person on Earth to look upward and realize that the stars are the next chapter of our story.